Okay, let's jump back into this and let me check. Yes, we do have sound this time. So, whew, good thing I'm not going to shoot another video with no sound. This is the knife I'm going to sharpen. I don't exactly recall the manufacturer, but I'll put it down below. I've already got some water on my Splash and Go. This is a Sharpening glass 500 grit stone. You can see here, I have used this knife. I have sharpened it once, as you can see back here, and there are some places I missed the angle a little bit in other places. But anyway, it's to the point now where it could use another edge. Keep in mind, this is a pretty finely edged knife, so it's not gonna appear as dull as your typical folding knife would appear when you consider it dull, but it's not at the point that it was. So, oops. Let's see if I'm on camera. I'm not on camera. That's an issue. Let's back up. Let's try that one more time. And this is just regular old catalog paper. I think this is from, it doesn't really matter. Let's see. Let's step back here and cut it. So you can see it cuts well for any knife that you would usually have, but it's not, it doesn't have that very crisp, sharp edge that this Aogami Super will take, or that finely edged, thin behind the edge Japanese kitchen knives are known for. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sharpen this knife starting on the 500 grit stone, and I have not marked the edge or anything like that. As you can see, like I said, I'm not a full beginner, but I'm not a pro. I'd say I'm a novice. You know, I can put an edge on some things, but I wouldn't exactly write home about it. So let's go ahead, let's start. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to take my right hand and I'm going to pinch the knife here like this, and I'm gonna wrap those fingers around there, and I'm gonna use this thumb to apply pressure downward. I'm going to spread my fingers, and this is where kind of having big hands comes into play, because I also want to keep pressure down on the knife blade itself. I don't want to keep it perpendicular to the stone like this. I want to kind of rotate it at an angle. This is to prevent from digging into the stone, and it's also because this is more comfortable, because what I want to do is I want to lock my wrist. I want to make sure that my wrist does not change, because this is what's going to keep the angle, and I want to make sure that my elbow is what is moving around. So I'm going to put this down right about here. That feels about right. And it's kind of hard to explain, but you just kind of know where your angle is at. So I'm going to take a few passes here, and I'm going to kind of see where we're at. The main place that I need to work on, there we go. If you look, this heel is not sharpened all the way to the edge. So I'm going to spend some time working on this heel first. So I'm just going to go up and down slowly. And again, that was one of the things I was talking about in my video. I think that I rushed too much early on when I was first starting to sharpen on something like a sharp maker. And I think that kind of hurt me in the process of learning how to sharpen. So here we go. We've got a few passes in, and let's kind of take a look. I don't know. I guess I should try to get on camera more. So you can see there, it's pretty much the same, but you can see I'm not missing my angle. I'm hitting my angle, so I'm going to stick with that. And I'm just going to continue to focus on this heel. And I'm keeping pressure down on this blade edge. I'm probably a little too close to the edge. I wouldn't suggest that, but you know, that's just me. Let's take another look. You can see all those metal filings. Let's get that water out of the way. We're making a little bit of progress back here. There we go. we're making a little bit of progress back here. So let's jump back in and keep going. I just want to keep a nice steady motion, and I want to keep pressure down on this part of the edge. So we can see some slurry building up on the stone there, and now we can see where we're kind of running off to the heel of the blade. There we go. Kind of running off to the heel of the blade because this wasn't sharpened all the way back here to this heel. So we want to make sure this is sharpened all the way to the heel. I'm going to take some water and kind of remove some of these metal filings and go back to sharpening. Again, you can kind of just feel the angle when you put the knife down on the stone. I'm going to make a few more passes here, and then we'll kind of see exactly where we're at as far as sharpening all the way to the heel of this knife. Okay, so you can see there, hope you can see there, that now we've got pretty much all the way to the edge. I'm going to start working my way up because I don't want to grind away too much of this edge and mess up the profile of the blade. So again, we're just going to keep pressure down. We're going to go back and forth. And we're just going to make sure we're taking our time. You know, there are lots of thoughts about, can you go forwards and backwards? Can you know, whatever, but I kind of have to agree with Sean, Big Brown Bear, Triple B Handmade here. I just want to get it sharp. And as long as I'm not digging the edge into this stone, it's going to be fine. Trust me, it's going to be fine. So you can kind of see here. You can see here where I've hit. And you can kind of see here, hopefully you can kind of see, especially at that tip where I have not hit because it's still kind of bluish at that tip from some oxidation. So that's the next thing we got to do is get up here towards the tip. And that honestly does not feel exactly like the angle, but I'm going to make a few passes and we'll see kind of where we're at. So let's see, let's make a few passes. Let's get up. We're going to raise the handle slightly. I don't know if you guys saw that. So we can get the tip. I'm going to drop that handle back down. And in just a few more passes, I'm going to go ahead and pull it off, and I'll let you guys see what I have here. So you can see kind of what I have here. I did kind of go a little too high on that tip, but I'm not too worried about it. Oh yeah, especially right in here. Oh, I'm off camera. Especially right in here, I can already feel that burst start to happen. I'm going to, let's see. I'm going to work on the back end of this a little bit more. There we go. And like I said, I just want to find that angle. I just want to make sure that I'm keeping that angle consistent. And I want to keep pressure down on this edge. So I'm continuing to work. I did feel like it ground into the stone a little bit there. Don't know exactly what happened, but like I said, I'm no pro. So that's where we're kind of growing and learning together. So it feels like there's a burr beginning to form back here. Let's rinse the blade off a little bit. Let's take a look at the edge again. And you can see we've pretty much gotten back to the heel. We've done a pretty good job of removing that steel here. Like I said, the tip I went a little bit high on, but I'm going to leave it at that. Let's flip this over and work on the other side. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to flip the knife over like this. I'm going to grip the knife here. I'm going to put my thumb on the spine of the blade. I'm going to put my index finger down here on the heel of the blade, and I'm going to use these fingers to apply pressure. This is the side I usually have trouble with, so let's see how I do. And I definitely rocked right there. I definitely rocked right there. So we'll kind of have to see how this looks. We'll make a few passes. You can see all of that, the metal filings coming off of this knife. Let's see. Let's check it out. Well, the one thing that you can maybe see is that I'm not all the way back to the edge of this knife, and you can definitely see that there are two different angles here. Look at this bevel and look at this bevel. Hopefully you can see that difference. This bevel is wider, which means that it's a lower angle, and this bevel is not as wide, which means that it's at a higher angle. So not ideal, but we'll kind of have to deal for right now. Let's see. Let's see what we can do with this, with the heel of this blade. So again, I'm keeping my wrist locked, or trying to keep it locked, and I'm just kind of slowly moving back and forth, or at a reasonable speed moving back and forth. I'm not moving that slowly. Reasonably moving back and forth, trying to get the heel of this blade. And that looks a lot better. Let's see, let's rinse this off. Looks a lot better. You can see it there. Also, we've dropped that angle down a little bit more appropriately. Well, you know what? And see, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I just sharpened the wrong side of the knife, I'm pretty certain. So no, I don't think so. No, I did. I don't know. Let's jump back into it, guys. So I need to focus on this side. And it's going pretty well. Just keep a nice medium pressure. I'm going to add some water in just a second. And we want to just get to the edge of this knife here. So the heel of the knife, I should say. Let's see. So we're still not quite there yet. If I can get it in focus, let's see. There we go. So you can see we're not quite there yet. Let's try again. If I can get the right side of the knife, guys. And we're just going to keep working. And this is where maybe a coarser grit stone would come in handy. I don't have a coarser grit stone. This is the coarsest stone that I have. But we'll get there. We'll get there, guys. The less steel removed, the more chance we have to fix any type of errors we have. So let's rinse this stone off because it's getting pretty contaminated with all of this slurry on here. And you can see that the stone is starting to pick up some color. So we'll definitely need to clean this stone at some point before too long. And we'll need to flatten it as well. That's something else we'll talk about later. But let's get back to, tell you what, let's move up the blade. Let's spread this out because like I said, I don't want to get to the point where I'm removing too much steel from one area and we're ruining the profile of the knife itself. All right. Let's see. Let's check it out. Okay, we're doing okay here. There you go. All right, let's keep moving on up the blade. Sorry guys, I had to stop and make sure I was doing the right side for a second. I keep forgetting. Like I said, this side, I don't know why, but it's a little bit harder for me. I'm gonna slow down a little bit because I feel like I'm rocking my wrist. Let's see. I really don't want to use this towel now that I'm thinking about it. I'll tell you what, I'm just going to use it. Let's see. Yeah. Fuck that up. Okay, sorry about that little bit of a break. What I did was I used some very light pressure, and I kind of just came in and went down one side like so, and then I flipped the knife over and I went back again, very light pressure. And really what I'm just trying to do is, it felt like there was a little bit of a burr on here. So I just really wanted to knock that burr off and see where I was at as far as sharpness was concerned. So we'll do the same thing again on camera. And I will rinse this off, dry it off, and then I'll show you guys exactly what type of edge I have on here. Let's see, let's feel it. Oh yeah, that's definitely a lot, it's definitely a lot stickier of an edge. But you can see here what I have now. Now I will tell you, I lifted too high on one of these sides at the tip. So the tip itself is not as symmetrical as I would like. I haven't hit all the way to the back of the heel, but that's something that I can touch on later. Here, I'll let you guys listen to how this sounds as it cuts through, and then listen to it before. It sounds much cleaner, much quieter. And you can even cut some squiggly lines. Again, is this an edge that I would say is perfect? Is this something I would put up against somebody else's edge that sharpens knives all the time by hand? I wouldn't. But is this a knife that is sharper than most of the knives out there in you guys' drawers? Absolutely. And part of that is the geometry. The other part is, like I said, I'm not a total beginner when it comes to freehand sharpening, but I still have a ways to go. And any freehand sharpener would tell you that there's always a new goal to reach. There's always a new plateau to hit. There's always a new level of sharpness to achieve. There's always something else to add to your bag of tricks. So I am going to hit this up on the 2000 grit stone this time. I'm not going to do that on video because this is run on long enough. But I will show you guys at that point exactly where we stand with the sharpness cutting paper. So give me a minute. Okay, this is the let me show you. This is the 2000 grit stone, as I said I was going to use, and I've already run this over the edge, or run the edge over the stone, I guess I should say. This is exactly what we have. You can see there it's starting to take on a bit of a polish. Again, like I said, the angles don't match exactly, but like I said, I don't claim to be a pro at this type of thing. So there's that. What I will tell you is, off this 2000 grit stone, this edge is a lot stickier. Let's see if there's enough water on here. So this is all I did. Very light pressure. Again, just following the same exact angle. and I went all the way down the blade. I spent a lot less time at this step. Very light pressure, letting the stone do the work, which if I was to go back to the 500 grit, I think I was pressing a little bit too hard. So that would be one thing I changed. As far as feedback, you hear talk about feedback a lot of times. This stone feels a lot softer. It feels a lot, what's the word? It's quieter, it's softer. It almost feels like if I pressed hard enough, I could cut into this stone. Even though I know that's not the case, that's kind of how it feels. So I'm just gonna go down this side. Can you hear it? Even just the way it sounds, it's much quieter. So when you hear feedback, that's kind of what people are talking about. I'm just gonna kind of make a few passes on this side, come back and make a few passes on the other side. Oop. And then I'm gonna rinse this off, dry it off, and I'm gonna feel this edge and kind of tell you guys if it still feels the same. It definitely feels stickier than when I started. There's still some moisture on this side. It definitely feels stickier than when I started and stickier than off of the other stone. I think there's a little bit of a burr still on this side. So I'm going to come back, and like I said, I'm no pro, so we're just kind of feeling the edge and letting the knife tell us what needs to be done. So I'm just going to go back if I don't mess the angle up. You guys just saw me rock the knife as I got to the back portion, which is not what you want to do. Here we go. Let's hit this side one more time. Let's rinse it. I'm not even gonna. Yeah, that's better. So let's see. I'll show you guys what we got here. Now this paper did get a spot of water on it, but it's pretty dry for the most part. Can you hear how it's even quieter now? Oh, kind of tore that last bit. It's even more refined now. And can you see how it's not the best, but it is S-cutting if I do try. There we go. So you guys can kind of see, even as being a novice or a self-proclaimed novice, you can get decent edges, guys. This is not the last time I'll sharpen on this channel. I'll kind of sharpen a few more times. We'll sharpen some different knives and we'll kind of grow together. Like I said, that's my goal for us. But in the meantime, I've got a pot behind me of some beef bone broth, and it's just screaming out for some pho. But if you know about pho, they finely slice some steak and you pour the broth over it and you cook the steak that way. I'm about to freeze a steak and use this knife to cut that steak. So I needed it to be sharp. I appreciate you guys watching. Remember, a lazy man carries a dull knife.